Welcome all to a new episode of New Ways of Being. And this is a continuation of what you've been seeing come out from me about how we can change the world by raising consciousness. And as a part of this, I'm interacting with a group of very knowledgeable and interesting people. And it has been just so much fun and so delightful. And with me today, I have my guest, Valeria Koopman. She is a well known podcaster. Her podcast is A Quest for Well-Being, but she also has a nonprofit organization that she publishes quite a lot of information through called Fit for Joy. And I see it actually has a subtitle as well, Garden of Well-Being. So, what I'd like to do before Valeria and I dive into this conversation is, Valeria, please introduce yourself, give a little bit more background of what you've been doing over, I don't know how many years, and what leads you up to this point in time. And I know you are so busy with so many different things. So share some of that to the audience.
Yes, thank you so much, Raymond, for having me here. I know we had a conversation before, you and I. It was always very delightful and enlightening. I love having these types of conversations. So thank you for thinking of me, being part of this. Um, yes, when it comes to what is how it came to be, like talking to this point in time, talking to you and kind of having the intention to move from here to somewhere and then thinking about the future with the nonprofits, one of my projects to bring this physical space to Kauai, Hawaii. But how it came to be, it's very simple. It's basically I was trying to lessen or end my own suffering of body and mind, especially emotional suffering, and then also this spiritual connection to something that I felt that I already had this, let's say, alignment with, but it was not easy to kind of come to this point. It was an interesting journey process. But yes, answering your question, I started 6 years ago. Not the ending, not the pursuit of ending suffering, but kind of becoming more, let's say, aware of how we could do this together. Because before that, I was doing it alone, trying very much, in my personal relationships with my family and friends and kind of small groups, trying to go on my own to change, this state of suffering that I felt. So together, it felt so much better and elevated, as we call it now, the rays of consciousness rising or raising consciousness. I actually have a different kind of perspective when it comes to that. And we talked before, Raymond, that consciousness doesn't change. It's actually, it cannot be raised because it was never not something that it was never a something per se. It's not an object, so it cannot be changed. So it's basically the state of absolute reality that we are. We are just kind of aware of what's happening, aware of the body, of the thoughts, of my words coming out now, listening to you. So that listens, that makes it possible to listen, to hear, to feel, to see. That's what we are. So it's untouchable, indestructible, it's limitless, it's infinite. So basically, we cannot change that. But going back to the fundamental question, which your work is all about. So basically, it's becoming, it's almost like recognizing ourselves. Basically, that has been said. We are very much, most of us are very familiar with the idea of kind of the divine recognizing itself. It's a realization. It's not a destination. It's not a place to go. It's really not, it's not in the future, has never been in the past. It's actually has always been here. We are what we are looking for. It's exactly, it has been always here. Was never lost, was never confused, never suffered. So basically, that's what I came to realize after a lot of work with Advaita Vedanta. That's my the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita. They are my let's say mm, my point of reference. They kind of they resonate with something that my being was looking for. So it's kind of it's a sensing that kind of aligns.
Mhm. So you've been doing. I'll tell the audience very briefly. I became, I think, aware of you, Valeria, when you reached out to me about being on your show. I think is what happened,
Yeah.
and but I know that you have interviewed so many people through your podcast, and you've had this special situation of that you've created for yourself to talk to so many people about things that they are doing in their lives, but those are things that you relate to as well. And, you make that available through your podcasts. But I
Mhm.
know you've gone through your own learning process and you've written several books, what I think 4 books, something like that. And those, I've not had the opportunity to read them, but those sound amazing as well. So I want to touch on that.
Yeah.
But let me ask you if I understand exactly what you're saying about consciousness, but so one of the things that I think is so important is people have to learn to be more self-aware and more aware of the world. Now, I kind of equate that to raising consciousness. But do you see it differently?
Mm. Yes. Well, I think we are probably speaking of the same thing, but in a from a different perspective. Uh, so there is, it's almost like you probably heard about the radio station, right? The radio and then the stations, and you have a television with many channels.
Hmm.
So basically, it's the same device, but then we have so many perspectives, a way of using that device. So the body, mind, to me, that's what they are. They're like this organism, this receptor to consciousness. Not exactly, because it's happening in consciousness, so everything is infused, saturated with consciousness. So the thing is, the interesting is that it is something that happened, which I call like almost the impossible, that we feel like we are separate as this organism, this device. At some point in life, we just kind of start to think and imagine that we are separate from our fundamental being, from that spontaneous kind of frequency. We're that I call it freedom in a sense that just dances, around this reality as freedom itself. So it's not really attached to anything. It's having an experience, and it's not judging that. It's not if it is feeling something, pain or pleasure, it's the sensation. And then, like you see the plant world, right? The nature, how you don't see a tree complaining about anything, when the wind comes and then sometimes it's destroyed. Can you imagine? Don't see trees and flowers comparing themselves one to another. Oh, I'm prettier than you, and now I'm better than you, and creating all this. So this happens with us humans in a very early age. In my case, I come from trauma, so that's another concept, of course, that's very much real in the relative reality, because I have experienced that and as a body mind. And that kind of changes everything. So the perception of being of my existence kind of completely changed because I remember at some point being very free, like just playing around and nothing really bothered me at all. It was just beautiful. that freedom is, I remember having, I still have that taste in my mouth, I have to say. And but then somehow that was lost with the impressions of the mind. The mind came to kind of understand that experience as something that was painful, negative. Somehow, because this is nature, obviously, if we don't water a plant, it will die, right? So nature, as nature ourselves, humans, it's very important that we are nurtured by people around us, so we feel safe, so we feel loved and accepted and all that. So that would be a mind, like let's say that device would be like being almost like well maintained, like something you see some families, some children that are born, let's say, with highly conscious, parents, that they have a very different experience, of reality, of their own body, minds, and the way they perceive the world, they interact in the world. So so that's what happens. That the work really that we need to do is it's the mind kind of correcting what has been kind of misunderstood, I would say. So that's the work that I have been doing for years, and I still do the work of always bringing. And that's why I interview so many people, on the mental health, emotional health, physical, all kinds of almost like strategies and ways that we can get back, to where we came from, that pure being that was here just to have an experience of joy, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I think you're not from the United States originally. Is that right? Where are you from?
Yes, from Brazil. I'm from Brazil originally.
Okay, very good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I just recently had a physical therapist that I worked with for a while that was from Brazil. Um,
Mm,
but
yeah.
at any rate, well, I understand what you're saying. And there are, definitely, I think what we see in the world right now is most people are operating from, not a full awareness. They're operating from mind that has been programmed
Yeah.
to believe certain things, and because we see people as being physically separate, we don't understand that there's a unity uh, underneath that, or within that.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
so I certainly relate to everything you're saying. We're just using a little bit different language, but
Right. Right.
um, yeah. So I I want to ask, how often do you talk on your interviews, your podcasts, with other people about consciousness or awareness?
Oh, all the time, every time, every time. Although we speaking of, like let's say therapeutic in modalities, in all kinds of topics related to the mind itself and how to kind of relax the mind enough, or the brain even. Some people that kind of put them together, the brain, the mind, or the body, the entire body, so we are able to see, look deeper into this reality that exists, this what Vedanta calls absolute reality. That it is basically, like you said, it's happening in the mind. So the mind has been conditioned and programmed. So the error, this disconnection, this unhelpful way of existing, it's coming from the mind. Yeah, in all the perceptions and perspectives of the mind, in the mind. So that's why I think it's very helpful for us to kind of tap into those realms too, because I tried the technique of doing spiritual bypassing. Oh, I just want to be, raise my consciousness. I want to just be in this spiritual, beautiful realm that's peaceful and perfect. And I don't want to have anything to do with the mind or the body even, and what's out there that doesn't really, doesn't make me feel good. So I remember kind of doing that for a long time and kind of retreating a lot to my meditations and being quiet, being alone, so I would be at peace. So it never worked, because I couldn't see myself becoming a nun and just living in the mountains and kind of isolated from everything and everyone. Although I tried at some point, I did try though. I went to a Woodstock and I tried there. There's a Buddhist monastery there, a Tibetan. I forgot the name now of the temple, but I asked them. I went there, humbly, and I said I had enough of the. I was trying to run from my own self, from doing the work, the emotional work, and then I just wanted to go straight to that kind of life that I would become a nun, and then that was it. So they said, "No, that's not for you. I'm sorry, we cannot help you." So that was the end of that that pursuit. And then I had to live in the world, meaning that I would have to do business and engage with the businesses and to make a living. I would have to cultivate relationships and deal with all the challenges that living in the world can can present to us. It's just very clear. It's all here. We can't run from the things that are happening as people living in the world per se. So that's why when I interview people, it always goes back to this idea that, it's helpful that we understand the, let's say, the depth of the mind, because we have the subconscious, as you know, the conscious, subconscious, and unconscious mind. So that's the work that fascinates me these days, especially. I'm always like in a playful way because I have I already have the fundamentals per se, the ground that holds me, that I am untouchable, like so you and so everything else. Everything's divine, everything's sacred, everything's infinite, everything and everyone in it. Basically, because we are happening in this infinite circle. Let's say God, oh, it's a circle, and then everything's happening within the body of God. If I can put it that way. I know the word God has been also comes with a lot of baggage, and that's something
Right.
else. But I still use the word God. I find it to be very direct, like we get there. God, this is where we are limitless. This is where everything's possible. So we can play, knowing that we are held by this force per se, which is not really a thing, that kind of makes everything possible.
Mhm.
So I don't know if I lose the direction of your question. Was it about that, Raymond? That yeah, please remind me of the question again,
Um,
because I could just go, yeah,
I'm off thinking about other things here. Um, I know I was asking, so, and it still comes back to your perspective, and I agree with what you said there about that we're all part of one
yeah,
divine being, and
yeah, yeah,
but the
yeah,
one of the issues I think we have in the world is that so few people have that perspective. They would they would laugh. Most people would say, "Well, I'm not part of God. I'm not part of the divine. Where did you get that idea?" And so one of the things I'm concerned about is that kind of perspective and that kind of understanding needs to be shared and explained more and made more available to more people. So
right.
yeah, I really was coming from the question of, how have you been tapping into your own awareness and um, and interacting with others in your podcast, etc., to talk about the subject.
Yes, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. Yes. So, yes, I always bring this topic to every conversation. Some more than others, because some people are less open and they want to kind of focus on what they know and what they can really, like in a sense that they're comfortable with, with language, using language. Like you said, it's not an idea. That's the thing. It's not an idea. It's not a thing. It's not a vision. It's just truth that everything is part of the body of God, of oneness. That's not, I mean, it's something that I came to realize, like you and so many of us. Actually, lots of people. There are many, many of us. So, but the people who don't yet understand that or live, embody that truth, it's also part of that freedom, though. And that's what's important to understand, because it would be very unhelpful to become angry and then try to fight, those who are expressing, like
Right.
Vedanta says, ignorance, which is basically not knowing what they are. Basically they don't know. So if they don't know, what is to be expected from them? Like a child, if they don't know how to cook, and then you ask a child to cook, you cannot expect, the best type of meal, like a great, basically you're probably going to get burned pancakes or something. But I mean, you're just asking a child to cook, or to do something that they don't know how to do yet. They're not skilled at it. So, I think it takes also empathy. It's a very important part of that, and doing the work of spreading this kind of awareness, the way we are doing now. What you're doing with your beautiful work, you have been doing for a while, and then you publish in a book. So everything helps. All we need, all the help that we can get when it comes to kind of letting those who yet don't know to kind of see the
Yes.
light that we are trying to, we're not trying, because this is what we are. So it's kind
Yes.
of easier that way. Once we embody that, then it's, yeah, I mean, they cannot help but just become curious, at least curious. How did you make this? How can you be this
Yes.
light, this happy, or this? And that's when the path might open to them, but we cannot force them. And
Right.
this is one of the things that I really don't relate, doesn't resonate with me, the forcing, the becoming almost like angry, and with
Right.
angry at those who are not yet, in that
Yes.
realization of what they are.
Yes. And certainly I do not believe that we should force feed people these ideas. I mean that,
Mhm.
but I do believe it is important to go through a learning and awakening process to become more aware. And
Mm,
with time, you become more aware at deeper and deeper levels, and aware of other perspectives and ideas. So, but
yeah.
I love the kind of points you were bringing up. That we cannot uh, just jam these ideas down somebody and say, "Here's what you should believe." But
No.
I think, well, I don't know if you use the term awakening, but I think awakening is a useful term to use, because we are going through an awakening process. And that's a way of looking at becoming more aware. But
Right.
what you made me think of is there have been many messengers of bringing messages and understanding from the divine and sharing it with the world. And very often, I'm thinking of some specific books, like in Conversations with God, for example. You know, God emphasizes the point: we can't expect people to be behaving in a highly enlightened way when they're still in the infancy. Humanity's still in its maybe adolescence,
Mm,
of not being all grown up yet and understanding the divine. We all have much to learn, but we can all see that everyone else is going through that same process. Everyone else is learning just like we are. And
Mm,
so, but we can
yeah,
share information, we can
right,
share ideas, we can share how becoming more aware in certain ways has been very helpful for us and share what we've learned with others. I noticed
right, right, Raymond. Yeah,
on your website,
yeah,
uh, you have something that's talking about one of your books, A Practice of Unconditional Self-Love. And you mentioned in there that you felt you were missing something in your life, but you couldn't figure out what it was until you learned uh, self-love and joy and self-awareness, and that became a practice for you. That exactly is so important. You know, people need to understand we need to learn self-love. We need to learn maybe to love
yeah,
others as well, or to love the larger world or and nature. We need
mm,
to learn to seek out joy, but
mm,
especially self-awareness, because self-awareness is really a key on the path to being able to learn these things. So I that grabbed my
right,
attention when I saw that.
yeah, yes, yes, yeah,
You
yeah.
want
So
to
that's part of the
go ahead,
yeah,
expand on that.
yeah, that's part of that. We can call it growth from the perspective of nature, right? The body mind. Yeah, we always learn new things, how to keep our body, science great with that, how to keep our body healthy. There's so many things we can do, especially nowadays, the more we learn about, let's say, for example, green tea or to sleep more hours. So the way to keep the body healthy and in balance. And then there's so many ways that we can learn to do this at the level of the mind too, emotionally, mentally, that. So that's the to me, that's the playful realm that we are kind of finding tune, tuning the instrument that the body is in the mind. So they're nature, they're like I mentioned, if they are the instrument, the receptors, or the way that we express, pure consciousness,
Mhm.
then the more tuned the instrument is, our bodies, our minds, then the more receptive we'll be to kind of let the light of consciousness reflect through us and kind of be more joyful, right? More, let's say, in harmony with others, always kind of meeting other people as sacredness itself, too, because that's the way we see ourselves in the first place. Because now we are kind of, our instrument is so in tune that we are able to sense that and kind of transmit. And of course, is the interesting thing to me has been this ongoing process. It's very dynamic and it's not, yeah, that's where the playfulness comes too. It's not static. So awakening, when you mentioned that, yes, it's easy to awake and say, oh yeah, everything is one. Everything is one essence. This is, when people who they do psychedelics, they report that the experience is just beautiful. The unity of everything. We can do that in meditation too, has been my experience. So, but then the challenge is just to stay awakened, is to keep the flow of pure consciousness kind of,
Mhm.
you know, being reflected and transmitted through this temple and that we are, this instrument that we are. And that's where I think that's where the fun starts, because then it requires us to become a lot more open and curious. And then that in itself, to me, kind of brings a sense of joy, though, when I learn anything new. Oh my God, I think the other day I learned something uh, about what do you call those things? I think it was, the shell of the green. Uh, what's the name of the nut that's kind of green and they are tiny,
Pistachio,
and then when you
pistachio.
pistachios, yes, pistachios, yeah, that's it. So I learned it instead of trying to really hard to open one, like sometimes they're hard to open, they're most closed. You just pick another one, another pistachio shell, and just open the other one. And it's so much easier. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, that's like the so simple. And I was laughing for a while. I was just like so like a kid. So that kind of, kind of makes me, that's how I go in life. Like everybody I meet, when I have these conversations and when I find out about anything that I never knew before, that's kind of very simple. Something happens and then kind of joy arises. And I think that's the light of consciousness, basically saying, me translating here, that we are here to experience. And the more we are open to experience every moment, every smallest things. Like I'm without my dog here. I love my dog. So, I have this very nurturing nature. So every time I see a fly in a house, I'm like, I'm trying to nurture the fly. I'm like, oh, maybe you wanted some food. Oh my God. I just find myself like doing these things and like, oh, and then, the me and the real me, which is kind of watching everything. And it's kind of saying, oh, that's beautiful how you're learning. So basically that voice is not even that. It's another, basically anything that we can perceive is not the real us. So it seems to me like the work is just to go back, further to have that really, kind of top of the mountain view, which seems to mean that I don't know, I have been there only in meditation for very, small moments in time. But I think it has to do with like going back by doing this work of emotional,
Mhm.
going, being more like you call it conscious, being more conscious about the things that we do, more present. And then the moment we cannot see anything else as separate from us, that's when we, in a sense, arrived. But it's not even that. It's just a return to what we are. Now we are just kind of dancing with everything as one, which I don't think it is. I don't think it's the goal of the experience, though, because to have an experience here in this dualistic world already implies, the joy of the dance of pain and pleasure. But suffering feels a little bit different. Suffering, it feels to me that that's when we have no perspective. Our perception is not really yet wide enough to see that this is just the play of life, that we are the body, mind, is part of nature, and that we are just here to kind of have some fun while we are here, which is just so, as you know, it doesn't last long.
Yeah, I love that you brought up perspective. When you talk about, moving back or moving to a higher ground in order to have more perspective on ourselves or on the world,
Mm,
that is exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about raising consciousness. It specifically
mm,
is more about increasing awareness and increasing our perspective. And we can learn to do it
mm,
in different ways. And what I
yeah.
believe is that, I know some people talk about awakening and as if it's a singular thing. And,
Mm,
all of a sudden you're
yeah.
awake and you know everything. And I don't
Mm,
think that's true for most people.
mm,
Most of us,
right.
you know, we raise our awareness and that helps us understand some more things and that helps us raise our awareness more. And so it's a continuous process of raising our awareness and raising perspective. um
Right.
and that,
Right.
so I
Right.
know, yes, I know what you said in the beginning, that our consciousness within us is still the same. It's complete. We're a part of the one consciousness of the universe
Yes.
that never
Yeah.
changes. But
No.
our participation in life and our participation in the physical world,
Mm,
um, kind of limits us in certain
mm,
ways
mm,
until we become more aware. I don't know how to explain
mm,
it better than that,
mm.
but what I find
Yeah.
useful is for like for
Yeah.
people like you and I to get together and talk about this and share our perspectives, and we come at it from different ways and different backgrounds, etc. But just the sharing of that, the sharing of this conversation is, I think, going to be helpful for other people.
Mm,
That, people
yeah.
are looking for answers and how to uh, experience life in more full ways and more healthy ways, etc. So it's all a part of that. Do you
Yes,
agree?
Raymond. Yeah, that's it. Yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah. In a sense, I call it the dance. So how can we participate in the sense that we can bring like our instrument can be in harmony with the other instruments, right? That would be music. That would be a beautiful song. So we can dance, to that song. So yes, yeah, that's really if there's a purpose to this, that would be it. Yeah, to fine tune up our
Right.
instrument enough so we can kind of come together and make music together so we can have a song. Yeah, so
Yeah,
life becomes a song.
I
Yeah.
love that analogy. And you also earlier you brought up something else that I kind of wanted to just touch on briefly, and that was you were talking about if we can remember like joyful times from our past, especially like from our
Mm, mm.
childhood when we felt freer and more uh, open and a
Yes.
part a
Yeah.
part of nature and a part of life
Yeah.
itself. We
Yes.
learn as we grow up, oh, we've got all these rules, and so we start
Right.
constricting ourselves, and but
Yes.
that's helpful, I think, to to bring that forward to other people to say, think back to when you felt totally free, and it was
Mhm.
probably in childhood, and
Yeah.
that you experience joy more fully and you experience life more fully. That's
Mhm.
helpful to even remind adults to stop and do that once in a while because it's a
Right.
shift, and any kind of shift helps us free up some of those self-held constraints and maybe see some new perspective on things.
Right. Right. That's it, Raymond. Yeah, that's a beautiful insight. Because I used to think that it was about the future, moving forward, moving forward, How can I get better? How can I do better? How can I be? But then it just kind of came to me in a very potent way uh, as um as a way of moving forward, actually going back. So the more I go back, I return to that moment where I felt free and complete and then just so spontaneous and as part of this whole physical reality as one kind of burst of energy that was not separate from anything. The more I keep going back, the more I find myself in this they call it the realm of the soul. So I feel more like it's almost being now expressing more of the essence of the soul. In the soul, it's from what I understood, it's it's that part of the experience as a human that is in touch with the absolute, like the pure consciousness, the
Yes.
highest forms of that. So the soul is very much, but the soul is kind of the intermediate kind of stage. So it's there and here, there and here. It touches both worlds, and it's very, very wise in a sense. So the more we that's what I understood. I'm kind of new at this kind of understanding of the soul, how it navigates, between consciousness, pure consciousness, and the human experience of body mind. So, but I feel as of this moment that the more I tap into that, go back to my childhood and the way I used to feel when I was a child, the more kind of my life now tends to be more a reflection of that. Like I moved to Hawaii because it feels so aligned with I grew up like this in nature with all the fruit trees, climbing the trees with the chickens and the pigs and the horses. So, and now I'm kind of going back to it just now at 48. And then it feels so in alignment what I knew to be true then. So it's so in a sense, yeah, it's not really. I tried to move forward. I did so many things in my life, and I lived in New York City, and I became a personal trainer, a competitor, and I thought I was moving forward with all those things. Actually, no, I had to go back because I felt, depression just was one of the symptoms that I was far from the alignment with the soul, which connects both consciousness and the human experience. When everything's aligned, then you find yourself more and more in the past. It's funny because it's simple. It's so simple. That goes back that when we were children. Yeah, it's very simple. Like you become a child again, basically. Basically.
And you said something else that I really have to agree with, and that is if we can find that perspective of life being a dance for us, that
Mm,
helps as well because I I do
yeah.
believe my own experience has been as I've got more and more in touch with the divine and living more and more, through the divine, life has become more of a dance, and
Mm,
it's fun. Life, when you're
right.
dancing, it's fun. Everybody loves
Right.
to dance.
Right.
And it's
Yes.
a way of opening up, and I think that's a good
Yes.
kind of teaching as well. Now,
Yes.
so
Yes.
I
That's
mentioned
it.
one of your
Yes.
books, and I know you have others. Um, I uh, have those books, Inner Peace and Clarity. That sounds like something that's so important to learn as well. Inner peace and clarity. Say a few words
Yes.
about that. I know we're running out of time, so
Mm.
uh,
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning the books. Wow, they're written about 10 years ago, so I have not really been in touch with that content. But yeah, just for the overview, the idea. Well, inner peace came from I'm related, I think in that book I'm related to acceptance because the mind had a hard time accepting all the traumas, all the suffering, the abuse that I had suffered. The body had suffered in the mind. So it was really looking for a way out of that realm. And that was acceptance, the first step, and then self love, second. Self love in a sense of practice and to take care of myself and not rely on others to take care of me. Or basically, a lot of us tend to give that responsibility to somebody else. Or you make me happy, we will marry you, make me happy, I'll make you happy. You love me and I'll love you. And that's so that doesn't, it resonated for a long time because I didn't know better. And then that caused a lot of suffering. So I kind of moved into this realm of inner peace more. How can I find that within myself? How can I feel complete, here in my own heart? So I'm not looking out there. Well, easier said than done. It feels, I'm somebody who can never really repress or suppress thoughts and feelings. So I don't do that. So I'm always kind of listening, honoring the thoughts and the feelings when they arrive, when they pass through. And I tended to be very kind of loyal to them in a sense, especially when it has to do with connection with other people, with my husband and my family. So I honor all that. And sometimes it feels like a needy thing because I'm married. So in a relationship, it's very interesting how it works because it feels like, oh, without this person, without my husband, it doesn't feel the same. It feels different. So I'm wondering why. It doesn't feel like, it's the same experience. It feels so, it's better to kind of having ice cream with him on the beach, on the beach together. Yeah, than alone. It feels so much better walking on the beach with him than alone. So with my dog too, and all those things. So that's where it goes back to the metaphor of a dance, right? We cannot really reject, suppress some of these. I don't even call them needs. I call them like a natural way of being here. I think we are here. I really feel that way to share, to do it together in community, in relationships. Not really something I really don't, it doesn't resonate with me, the idea of just doing things on my own. Like, remember, I tried to be a nun before, just to be on my own, left alone and all that. It didn't work. It didn't work for a reason because it was not natural to my body mind.
Yes.
So I think, like you said, we are built differently, all of us. And some of us, it feels natural for monks to do that, but it's not for some people, but it's not for all of us. You're about to say something, Raymond.
Well,
Oh, God.
Valeria, yeah, I want to have some more conversation with you if we can
Oh, we
find
gotta
the opportunity
meet
to
again.
talk about community because I think that's an
Yes.
important thing that is very much neglected today. Um,
Mm,
we are,
yes.
many of us do feel very isolated and
Right.
that we're all, we have to take care of ourselves and we don't know how to do that, et cetera. So that's a big kind of issue and could take a whole nother conversation perhaps. But
Yes.
Valeria, thank you
Yeah.
so much
We
for
can meet
being
again.
here with me today. I've
Thank you.
enjoyed it very much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your ideas and your perspective. That is so valuable, and we need more of that. And I will share your
Mm.
your website, fitforjoy.org, and your podcast, A Quest for Wellbeing. And I hope all of the listeners, you check those out. She has so much to offer and so much you can learn from her. So thank you.
Mm.
And
Thank you. Thank you,
Val-
Raymond.
Valeria and my audience, have a great day and a great
Yeah.
life.
Yes. Yeah. Thank everyone. Yeah. Aloha.